What we do here is go back.
How's that sound? I'm Martin Kove, I played Sensei Kreese. No.
I'm Zabka, I played Elisabeth Shue.
Do you guys age at all?
Yes, we do.
Well, you just saw it's a high.
It's the lights. It's the lights. How you guys all doing? So, we're good. We're waiting for Ralph as always. This is the reason why we wanted to start without him is because this is exactly what it was like on the set. Marty and I would be ready, we'd be out, we'd be stretched. Half hour go by, Ralph would get his nails done. Last hair put in place.
Yeah.
Come in. Yes, sir.
How much did it bother you to have that little guy beat the hell out of you in the movie?
Which little guy? Well, he only beat the hell out of me with one lucky illegal kick. Other than that, he was enough.
In fact, we don't even believe that he beat Billy. In fact, I don't know what you're talking about.
Just for fun. He deserves it, right?
I mean, for 30 years we've been waiting for a rematch. I don't think Billy lost. I've never felt that Billy lost.
Aaron.
Thank you.
Yes, darling.
How have you kept up on your martial arts?
I did for like 5 to 8 years after. I did 5 years hardcore training, and then I kind of dribbled off the last 3. And now starting back up again kind of last year or so.
Could you do a demonstration?
No, not in these pants. Dan Gessing's in the audience, everybody. What's up? Big Brother star. Dan, stand up, take a bow.
No one watched it.
Oh, yeah. That's good to see you, man. Yeah, I actually went to an elementary school and they asked me to do a karate kick, and no kidding, I did like one of those butterfly kicks and ripped my groin. Yeah, so I don't do that. Maybe if I had some, first of all, I'd have to stretch and, I'd have to have a gi on or something. Yes, sir.
Hospital right across the street.
Oh, what? Hospital? Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to ask you about something from when you were on How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
First time Google's ever failed me, I couldn't find any Billy Zabka poetry online.
Oh, I'm still working on the poetry. Thank you for keep knowing about the poetry. Yes, there will be a book eventually, kind of a gag of Billy Zabka poems. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Consider a book bought for starters.
Ladies and gentlemen, the real Karate Kid! We had a great time with you guys. Really nice. Thank you for all the great questions. Ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Macchio. Oh, look at that. Just happened to be one there.
Oh, God.
We were just explaining how this is how it was on the set, Ralph.
That's right. I was always late. They were always on time.
Yeah, he'd come in, do his kicks, and back home to Malibu.
Well, here we are. Have you guys been here before? You guys been to Detroit?
Yeah, we were here last yeyear.
I'm from Motor City. This is on my inaugural visit, so this is pretty awesome. Thanks. On Friday, you got off of work early. You got off of work, yeah, raising my time. Who got out of school today? Who got out of school today? Yeah, that's cool.
I skipped sleeping, I work midnight.
Yeah, no, sleep is not overrated. So,
We're just taking questions. Is anybody here to moderate, or are we just up here on our own? Good, and you guys are the moderators, so you can just ask questions, and then we'll probably touch on a little bit of everything, and everybody gets a chance to ask a question.
twice.
I remember this.
I just did these.
Yeah.
Well, that's not.
Yes.
Okay, so who's got a question that's never been asked before? Go ahead, back to this.
What's your guys' take on that new Karate Kid movie?
What new Karate Kid movie?
Is it a new Karate Kid movie?
The one with Tyler Perry's kid?
10, they made an entertaining movie because one, they had a very good story, and they made the exact same story, but it is a totally different movie. And that's only, and I also think it enhanced the original. I think the more that story is brought forth, the more people harken back to where it all came from, and it only kind of heightened the popularity of the original. I think the original, the film we did is probably more popular now than probably 10 years ago in an odd way.
That's true.
So, that said, people went out to see it, and it was certainly a well-crafted film, although it was in China and there's no karate.
I actually personally thought it was better than the original.
At least they found the lead protagonist that worked.
Right. We were actually at the screening of that. They had the premiere of that. Marty and I were sitting next to each other, and the whole thing when the kid walks in the dojo and the whole, it was just kind of like an imitation. It was really bizarre to watch. It was like, I don't know. It was okay. It was nice.
Well, there's so many people angry that it was even made, and we talked about this before. And I went on the radio and Fox Sports, and these commentators were so angry that they dare make a movie 20 years. At that point, it was whatever it was, 15 to 20 years too soon to do a remake. And I said, hey, we had just gone to the premiere, I think a day or two before, and we said, it doesn't compete with Karate Kid 1. It just kind of pays homage to it, And then they quiet it down. And you tell that to anybody, then they really understand, because you can't say sweep the leg or no mercy in subtitles. It doesn't work, Yeah.
Did you film Karate Kid 2 in the island of Okinawa?
No, we shot Karate Kid 2 on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. And it was on the windward side of the island, and it was, whatever that means, the windward side.
Where the wind is
Where the wind blows. There's one thing, there's what they call a Chinaman's hat out on the coast of Hawaii. It's a small little mini island, and anyone who knows Hawaii knows that that's there. And so it's always in the background of a couple of shots, and you go, that's not Okinawa, that's the Chinaman's cap. But they built that whole village there, and that's where we shot it. So aloha to that.
My part of the movie was filmed in the back alley in LA. They choked me out, they dumped me with Hawaii, right?
That's it. Good.
I was just going to ask how much fun it was to be on How I Met Your Mother in general, especially the first episode you guys were both on, when you were dressed up as a clown the entire time.
It's a great payoff. Did you guys see that episode? Yeah. It's really great. And, it's interesting. Billy Buckman, he should talk more about it. He was on throughout that whole season, but it introduced the film, the Karate Kid franchise, to a whole bunch of young viewers of that show, and it's amazing how you can just open up something to a whole new audience or a younger audience. So I think I felt that certainly. So.
I thought it was nice of Ralph. When I got the script, I'm like, Ralph's not going to do this. It's like Barney's like, I hate Ralph.
Sounded like my wife.
But it was a lot of fun. I mean, to be on a show like that with those caliber of actors and writers and producers, it's a thrill. And we had a blast doing it together.
It was fun. And that was a really well-crafted episode, the one because the payoff of him and the clown thing was just, it was a home run.
And he was like a Barney copy, we had a good time on that.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's a two-parter. What was your favorite scene in the first Karate Kid movie? And also, what was your relationship like with Pat Morita?
I guess from my perspective, it's tough to say a favorite scene. There's so many, and it is a lame answer, but there are so many scenes that resonate still for me now. I think one of my favorite sequences is when LaRusso puts Miyagi to sleep after he's drinking, talking about his losing his wife and child, and it's a real poignant moment in the film. And I turn to leave and I bow to him, and it goes into this montage sequence of him training himself. The music is absolutely beautiful. Bill Conti, the composer, and that's one of my favorite sequences. It's sort of handing the baton. One of my favorite moments is a simple little line that when Daniel says, "You're the best friend I ever had," I just think that it's very sweet and poignant. And I didn't have any of the cool lines like "sweep the leg, put him in a body bag," all the Cobra Kai lines that are awesome that everybody wears on their T-shirt now. But the bad guys are always much more fun. But those are two moments that come to mind. Working with Pat was just magical. It was one of those things that doesn't come around very often, if at all. And it's the one thing we knew. We knew we had a special kind of chemistry. I didn't know the movie was going to be a hit at all. I don't think anyone really did. The director's the first one to say, he goes, "I didn't have a clue," So, and certainly it come to be what it is today. But Pat was a very giving, generous, and he also knew that he was playing the role of a lifetime, and man, did he deliver. It's really a spectacular performance.
My favorite scene was when Daniel put the water hose over Johnny's stall.
That's your favorite part.
That was my favorite.
I mentioned all those poignant scenes. He's
Right.
he's smoking weed. I love that.
I've never heard that. That's great. My favorite moment in the movie is when Daniel comes crawling to me with the trophy. He's like, "You're all right, Lawrence. Good match."
This is the way he's dreamed it up for the past 30 years.
That kick really got me, man. Actually, my favorite part of the movie, and it gets me every time, is when the payoff, after you've been waxing everything and washing everything, and he says, "Show!" And the moment when he sees the martial arts, that moment right there. When the first time I saw that, I got chills, and it's a scene I get chills at every time.
Yeah, it pays off so perfectly.
So yeah, it just swells to that. It's just like bam, turning points. It's on. Like the adrenaline starts kicking in.
That's the first. Of the screenings way back, and even now, that's the first thunderous applause you get during a movie, which hardly ever happens during movies. Especially now we're so desensitized to you could just take any building and just explode it and fly through it. It's like, oh, it's that, But back then, just a moment, a payoff like that, really special.
When we watched the movie, I think it was in New York, we watched it from behind the screen. You and I remember.
Oh, that was
Philadelphia? And there was a screen, we were behind the screen watching it in reverse. And we still got so, it was such a vulnerable moment, the final scene, and it was really, it just moved us, and we'd seen it so many times, and this is in reverse. So, it goes really back to the great vision of the director and the great script of Robert Campbell.
Well, this is something that you can all probably answer. We run a radio show, close by, and we started a hashtag called Being Miyagi, which is just what you guys were talking about when you're learning a lesson and you might not know it at the time, and you come about it and say, "Oh, I was being taught something." What are some times in your lives that maybe you guys have been Miyagi without knowing it? You're going.
No deep, poignant questions are allowed. That's a great.
That's a Being Miyagi setup right there.
Excellent.
Tomorrow is the dawning.
Excellent question. Really an excellent question. I didn't know I was going to have to think this. Give me a moment.
You mean in real life or related to the film? Oh, yeah.
John Kreese was never that sensitive. I don't have a problem answering your question.
Here's my Being Miyagi. Martin Kove calling, going, "Hey, I could just play it on my cell phone. Call me. I'm at home. I left you 4 messages. 661, right?
Right.
And then I call back and he's like, "Hello, my son, my student." But he leaves these kind of sensei Kreese kind of messages. And then I call and it's like, my student, young Billy. That's my Being Miyagi. Unfortunately, it's tied to Marty.
Funny.
Man, I'm going down a bunch. I'm trying to. There's certain moments with my own father that in lesson teaching where I just thought he was being a pain in the ass. And then at the end of the day, now as a parent, I see even years later some of the things that he was trying to bestow. I could attest. I was on stage with Robert De Niro doing a play, and it was a real exciting time for me. And I was there was a moment after a couple of weeks where he was trying to give me some instruction on certain things, and I felt that I was confused by what he was trying to tell me to do. And I think it took a while, because at one point he said, "Now tonight you were right on. That's exactly what I was talking about." And I was completely confused by him. I said, "Well," he said, "what was going on?" I said, "I just was tired. I didn't sleep last night. I had something going on with my family, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just wiped out, and I'm tired." And he goes, "Good, be tired more often." I was like, "Dude, thanks, De Niro, my hero. Now, And he was being Miyagi at the time, because I was acting too much in my head and trying to do the performance. And when I was tired and it sort of the acting was swept away, and I was just on, getting through naturally, it was a better, more true performance. When I thought I was sort of lazy, in actuality, I was probably a deeper and more realized of a performance. And so, be tired more often was his Miyagiism. I still think of that to this day when I'm acting. Sometimes to stop thinking and wanting to perform what I think it should be, and just let it be natural. So that's something at least I can tie into what you guys would see and make sense of. Okay, simple questions. Great question. Somebody wants to.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Macchio,
There's too many hands.
Hey, young future Cobra Kai.
Why does Cobra Kai be so bad sometimes?
That's a really good question. Well, when you get a little older and you have a girlfriend, and some guy steals her away and then pours water on your head, you'll get mad too. No, it's a good question. That's not how you should be, and so we learned the wrong way of karate because we had a bad instructor. It wasn't our fault because we were good kids, just misled. And he had a good teacher. So there's a good way of doing karate and a bad way. So what you can learn from the movie is the good way. Got it? All right. Be careful of guys coming in from Jersey anyway.
Back to the future guy here.
This is for Billy. How was it like being younger and having to be a bad guy?
Being younger, that was really great.
Portray like kind of a bad guy.
Oh, I think so. Well, listen, I came from commercials. Like the thing I did before Karate Kid was a milk commercial, so I was kind of all-American kid. Yeah, Dial soap, pizza, things like that. The fact that I got this character still I pinched myself because I didn't know karate and I wasn't a motorcycle rider. I didn't see myself as being a gang leader, all those things. So to get to play that was a lot of fun because it was really kind of far from who I really am. So it was a lot of fun. Did I know it was going to stick so much and everybody's going to, ask questions like that 3 years later? No. It was fun though, of course. Yes, in the far back.
Have any of you guys seen How I Met Your Mother?
No.
Okay, so there's a character named Barney Simpson, and
He was what? That's right.
He was telling it.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
We saw that.
He thought he was the real Karate Kid, right?
You guys say go to make another one, and Ralph, do you have any funny stories to share from my cousin?
What was the first question?
You guys think you ought to make another Karate Kid?
If there was a great script, it all starts with a script.
Taking over as
Yeah, I know. Listen, it's been pitched to death. I have a kid who's in trouble and he needs to. I want to say that's the first time I've heard it, and it makes logical sense. I think it comes down to whether Robert Kamen, who wrote the original characters in the original films, would venture into that world, and whether or if the studio ever came up with it. The fact that they made a remake, it seems like, and I think they're making another one. It seems like the ship has sailed, although, I don't know. I think we'd all be open to looking at something if it was great. Otherwise, why take the legacy of what we created, what we originally created? My cousin Vinny was loaded with funny stories. It was a great movie to work on. Joe Pesci, I'd known before that, and he just was killer. Really funny, great actor. Marissa Tomei, I mean, come on, she came out and won the Oscar first time out. I mean, I have certain stories. I just don't want to, I don't want to take away from this Karate Kid panel. But the courtroom's all, Fred Gwynn and Joe Pesci side by side. That's a funny story. Just holding them in the same shot was always challenging. It was a great time. It's a movie that's funny every time. Thanks for bringing that up. Somebody in the back, sure, you,
Ralph, what was the casting process like for you for Karate Kid?
For Karate Kid, the casting process, he asked. I read for John Avildsen in his apartment in New York City, who's our director. He held a video camera by himself and read the scene with me. You could actually get these audition tapes on YouTube now. I think if you just put into YouTube, Ralph Macchio audition Karate Kid or Pat Morita, both of our auditions, our first readings are available for you guys to see. Thankfully, it's really cool. It's really cool, as well as some rehearsal footage from us all making the film. I went in for him once. He called me back the next day or 2 days later, and I read with Elisabeth Shue and a couple other actresses. And then from there, he just said I would start taking karate lessons. So I was like, that was a good sign. And then I flew to LA, and I still had a screen test and go through the whole, it was Columbia Pictures, so it was a big, tall order. I know that Robert Downey Jr. and Charlie Sheen were right there and then running as well, and whatever happened to that one. So that was and I met Pat Morita in LA, and the producer did not want him. It's pretty famous, if you're in from the story. He did not want, Arnold from Happy Days in this movie. And he turned out to give an Academy Award nominated performance, so that was my journey. Pretty awesome.
Two quick questions. One, can you tell us about the car? And then, Billy, can you tell us about your weirdest fan interaction you've ever had? I guess that opens up to you guys.
Can I tell you about what the car? Yeah, I have the wax on, wax off car. It was a 47 Ford convertible. It, ran maybe 40% of the time. It's always conking out, But I got to keep the car. I asked for it. It's become somewhat of a white elephant, but I'm glad I have it. It's it's on 4 flats right now, sort of like my major studio motion picture career. So we have to pump up the tires, and but I have that car, and it'll be in the family unless Jay Leno wants to buy it for $100,000. But it's pretty cool to have a piece of memorabilia like that.
My strangest fan interaction. Well, they're all cool. I don't know, man. That's a hard one. I was at Disneyland. I remember when the movie was kind of still out, and it was the first time, all of a sudden people recognize you, and I was kind of literally being carried from security, because like a little pocket of people would take pictures, and then it grew into a swell of this thing, and you couldn't move. So like I had a guy who was kind of carrying me around, and I remember ended up at the other side of Disneyland, bummed out that I wasn't enjoying the day, and I was getting a glass of water, from a water fountain, and this really big black guy's like, hey man, it's like just me and him. He's like, aren't you the bad guy in the Karate Kid? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh man, over here. Dude, you're gonna crush me, thank you. So that was like a fan thing. I don't know. There's times where they move your room and stuff in hotels. It was weird like that. Just like that whole time. So.
My favorite, I love this story. I'm going to Karate Kid 3, and which is the one I named the least. But I'm making a film in this funky town. This little, maybe 7-year-old kid comes up, a little swagger. He's like, hey man, you Ralph Macchio? I said, yeah, you Karate Kid, right? You the Karate Kid? I said, yeah, so I'm taking the pen out of my pocket. I said, nice to meet you. He goes, I kick your ass.
We were in, I think it's February. Billy and I are in Times Square, and it's snowing, and you had these people, Chewbacca, a guy dressed like Chewbacca, and another fellow dressed as Darth Vader. And they're there, and what they do is they take pictures with the tourists in Times Square, and they function on tips. So that talking with Billy and I, and we're laughing, we're having fun, and Billy's, videoing them, and they don't know who we are, and then all of a sudden, these two guys look at Billy and I, and they take a double take, and they realize, Karate Kid, and they go wild. They rip off their headgear, pull out their cell phone, and shoot both Billy and I standing with them, and I thought that was hysterical. Yeah.
Two-part question. Ralph, what was your favorite movie out of the three? And you guys still keep in contact with the crew?
My favorite by far would be the original, the first movie, the movie with these guys in, because they hear like kick my ass. That's right. The first one, because that's where all the magic happened, and that's the film that's quoted and resonates, and that's where it all began. I think the part two is a very worthy sequel. I think quite a beautiful film, and bringing the two cultures together was nice. What was the other? The crew. Yeah, some of them we do keep in contact. I mean, with our director John Avildsen, we're very much in contact with some of the Pat Johnson, who did all the fight choreography and was our stunt coordinator and trained us all. We stay in contact with, and among some other folks, even by working on different movies and TV shows, you run into people that worked on that film. So I stay in contact, kind of loosely, but it's always nice when you can talk about that one film that turned out to be what it is today, because we're just showing up to a job and trying to tell one story.
I think whenever the film is successful, everybody will remember, Steven Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark, but they don't remember used cars, Anybody who worked on the movies that aren't successful, they kind of forget about it. But on Karate Kid, I think, we always come in contact with the people, and some of them have done very remote jobs, but there's always wonderful, happy stories from a very successful film, most of the time.
One of the things I appreciate most about the movie is that as an adult, I can appreciate it in a different way. And one of my favorite scenes is also the sequence that you described earlier with Miyagi. Just wondering if there was any fear among the cast that was too heavy a subject for a kid's movie?
That's a good question. I think they, meaning the filmmakers, there was always discussion of what Miyagi's backstory was. And I think there's a story that we all know. The editor and the studio at the time wanted to cut that whole scene out when they were cutting the movie together, because they felt it stopped the plot. We were racing to the tournament, and now we stopped for 7, 8 minutes, whatever. It's a pretty long scene, probably longer than that, and just hear all this backstory that does not propel the plot forward. But it also is what separates the movie from just being an okay film to something that has poignancy and depth. And I think we recently were in Los Angeles, and there was a screen, I forget, it was Japanese Culture Center. Yeah, it was. They recognized the whole 442nd in World War II, and it was one of the first times ever in a mainstream American film that was brought up and recognized, and the internment camps and everything else. So I think, and it wasn't done in a heavy-handed way. It was. Listen, Daniel LaRusso was a fatherless kid. His mom raised herself, and that backstory was never brought forth. But so I think it connected in a way where LaRusso even had a deeper understanding of that loss that Miyagi had. And it's nice that you bring up a question like that, because very often these are about just the pop culture. Does the crane work? This is, can you catch a fly with chopsticks? And all that stuff is fun. But getting to discuss something like that, it's nice. It's nice that you brought that up.
Let's do one more question, please.
You guys pick. I'm not going to be the one.
Everybody at the same time. Go.
I'm sure that the person back there is going to stand up.
This is a question from
Sit down.
Go ahead, stand up.
No, you can do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, both do it at the same time.
security here for all of the
Yeah, he'll kick our ass.
And this guy is a true fan. He has a Cobra Kai logo tattooed on his cap with our autographs, and he's getting yours too. For real. He's a real deal. This guy can kick all of our butts at the same time without even moving from his seat.
But ask your question.
I want to know if there were any injuries during the filming, during the training, filming, anything like that.
Not really.
He never got hurt.
No, I got a solar plex. I got a kick to my solar plex. I have a little bruise right here. Somebody accidentally kicked Ralph in the face.
Yeah, somebody named him.
Well, we can't point fingers. There's a lot of skeletons out there.
And the kid who got 60 knuckles, getting push-ups on his knuckles, he's dead now. Yeah, he died from knuckle push.
All right, the guy with the nose that I told to sit down.
Thank you, guys.
Stand up and ask your question. It better be good, dude.
I was wondering how you got so pumped up for that role, or if you had any sort of inspiration that you pulled from other roles that you've seen or done. How you sort of got so pumped up to be in, Tiger and hardcore as you were.
I went to a lot of funerals. I lived and breathed death for a long time. It's the only way to do John Kreese. You go to a lot of funerals. But in actuality, I mean, the character truly believed that he could never lose, and the whole motivation, I've talked about it before, was, that John Kreese never was allowed, he never was a loser, except when he went to Vietnam. And then as our soldiers were kind of deprived of being triumphant there, he swore after being a champion in karate in high school and college and whatever, that he ultimately would come back and his Cobra Kai, his students would never lose under any circumstances. So he basically treated karate as an offensive sport rather than a defensive art, And that's why he was such a fanatic, and that's why Billy, he was so disappointing.